US General Martin Dempsey spoke on Wednesday about America's military and defense policy. He mentioned Islamic State and also Russia as the principal threats to the country. To discuss the controversial statement further, let's cross live now to Richard Becker from the Anti-War Answer Coalition. Thanks for joining us this hour. General Dempsey mentions Islamic State and Russia as the main threats to the US. Why does he view Russia in such a light, do you believe?
Well, the only explanation for that is that the General Dempsey has a clear view of the United States as a worldwide empire. I mean, Russia is not threatening the United States, and in fact, the Islamic State is not threatening the United States, but they're threatening U.S. influence and control and domination in certain key parts of the world where the U.S. leaders want to dominate. And clearly the Pentagon, headed by General Dempsey, has that viewpoint. There's no other explanation. And General Dempsey is quite open about demanding more and more money, billions, tens of billions of dollars more for the military. And the only excuse for that, given the fact that the U.S. military budget already equals all the other countries in the world put together just about, is that it is a military that is defending the interest of empire.
Well, this is harsh rhetoric. It's coming from currently the highest-ranking military officer in the U.S. Armed Forces. What is he planning to do about Russia, then, which he sees as this type of threat?
Well, I think that in pursuit of a goal of global domination, that the leaders in the United States, and this has been true ever since the fall of the Soviet Union. Just in March of 1992, they came out with a document called the Defense Planning Guidance, which called for not allowing any country to become a challenger, a true challenger to U.S. domination in the world. That's the policy. That's the real policy. And so we have this very harsh rhetoric, and it's clear that the Pentagon is playing, and has played for a long time, a very big role in U.S. foreign policy, perhaps even bigger now, where you have General Dempsey regularly contradicting both the President and the Secretary of Defense on the need for combat troops in Iraq and in Syria, and really violating the constitutional order in that it's supposed to be civilian control. But General Dempsey has no problems in when President Obama says no boots on the ground, saying the next day, yeah, well, maybe we will need to send combat troops into Iraq. And now we have twice as many troops in as just a month ago.
Another development that we know of is that Russia's Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said that John Kerry told him not to pay too much attention to the threatening language coming from Washington, while the State Department maintains that the whole exchange was a misunderstanding. What kind of dialogue is Kerry actually pursuing with Russia?
Well, the State Department played a very big role in the overthrow of the constitutionally elected, democratically elected government back in February in the Ukraine. I mean, there's no question about that. The Assistant Secretary of State for Eurasian Affairs, Victoria Nuland, was there, along with Senator John McCain. And so if you hear from John Kerry, well, don't pay too much attention to that rhetoric, that's just sending a message to delude someone on the other end of the message, because clearly U.S. policy is extremely hostile. They had thought that they were going to bring Ukraine completely into their orbit, into NATO, and when they carried out, supported carrying out the coup against the constitutionally elected government. So I don't think that we can put too much faith in that statement from Kerry.
Okay, let's take a listen now to the words of the new U.S. ambassador to Russia, who assumed office on Wednesday, for a few moments.
As a U.S. diplomat for more than 4 decades, I'm committed to maintaining open and frank lines of communication between our two great nations, helping explain Russia's perspective to Washington and expressing the U.S. government's views to Moscow.
So I suppose that could be classified as a positive message, not exactly what we're hearing from inside the U.S. now. What do you think about such discrepancies, messages coming out?
Well, I think that was diplomatic language. I think it was very neutral sounding, but I don't think there's any question, and we saw this at the G20 meeting, of the hostility, the great hostility of the United States and its NATO powers toward Russia and toward Russian interests. And you would think that the Ukraine bordered, Washington, D.C. when you hear them talk, rather than bordering Russia, with which it's had a very long relationship. We hear that diplomatic language, but then we hear the other language and we see the actions that the U.S. and its NATO partners are taking, the sanctions, the military buildup.
Richard Becker from the Answer Coalition, thank you for joining us this hour.